Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the East Riding of Yorkshire series. Together with the unparished city of Hull, it forms the county of the same name. There's 172 parishes here. Which one are we in today? Welcome back to the East Yorkshire Wolds, folks. Now, one problem you have when you're in the Wolds and out in the ruralness that it has is that sometimes you're limited as to where you can stop for a drink or a toilet break. Thankfully, in this one, you can go into Seaways Cafe, which we're about to do in a moment, and check out what it's got and relieve ourselves, shall we say. Also, we might be doing this one on the wrong day. You see, today is Saturday, and the name of this place involves a day of the week. And that day would be Friday, because this is Fridaythorpe. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like, and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Welcome to Fridaythorpe, people. Given the name of this place, you might think it has something to do with Fridays. I'm going to disappoint you though. Fridaythorpe gets its name thanks to the Norse Goddess Frigg. This was Frigg's farm. It's famed for a few things, but the quirkiest would be that it has hosted in the past the World Championship flat cap throwing competition at its summer fete. Fridaythorpe also claims to be the highest village on the East Yorkshire Wolds, but you'll recall Huggate also claims that title. There can't be much in it though, seeing as the two are so close together. Fridaythorpe has been settled since at least the 9th century. One of the reasons for its existence would have been the abundance of water. Two ponds, or meres, were handily located near the junction of two ancient roadways that led from York to the east coast. The main residents here were the Warren family, who owned land in and around the village from the 15th century. Up until the early 19th century, Fridaythorpe was just a small hamlet, having just 25 houses to its name. The population would more than treble after enclosure. It relied on its two meres for its water supply, but in 1826, that supply dried up. That would lead to a heated battle with neighbouring Fimber, and in this episode, we'll explore why. So get them flat caps on, guys. Let's go for another walk. Okay, so Nikki's been at it again and bought some local stuff. What have we got this time, Nikki?
So we've just been in the Seaways Cafe for
yes,
a cup of tea.
Which, by the way, is an old garage. It's full of memorabilia, bike memorabilia. There's all sorts of things on the wall to do with motorbikes. We think it was some kind of like a transport cafe in a way, because people, I would imagine, came this way to get to the coast. Anyway, I'll talk more about that in the rest of the video. What have you bought, Nikki?
So they actually produce their own honey. So Wolds Way Yorkshire honey, and they also do a blossom honey in there as well. But this little jar is a locally produced one, and it was £4.50. They are members of the Yorkshire Beekeepers Association. So there you go.
Yep.
And then, unusually for me, I bought some soap, because I've not seen a honey soap before. I mean, I probably have, but not twigged. But this one is a honey and poppy seed soap. So I thought that was quite interesting. Now, that block was quite expensive really as soaps go. It's £3.80, but for a handmade soap, I think that's quite reasonable. And again, made here as well.
They do all sorts of things in there, don't they?
Yeah, they do quite a lot of, you know, gifts and other additional sort of bits and pieces. But yeah, it's been a while for the TVI pounds to be out, but I consider that as pounds well spent.
So do I, so do I. Our first landmark is an old bus shelter. You don't see many like this these days, do you? This style of shelter often collapsed thanks to weathering. Behind it is Ron Whitfield Engineers at Manorfield Works. I'm not 100% sure if this is still operational, but if it is, it's an agricultural engineers. Next door we have a garage which I will say here had the cheapest fuel I've seen for ages. Its adjoining Mace store also doubles as Fridaythorpe's local shop. Next we come to a corner where we find the Manor Inn, the only pub in the village. This was formerly known as the Farmer's Arms. We're now on Back Street. In front of us here is Fridaythorpe's Mere or village pond. Beside it there's a curious looking glass shelter which Nikki went to investigate. It turned out to be one of the fanciest bus shelters I've ever seen. Fridaythorpe's buses call here. It's served by the 135 which runs to Driffield. So Nikki has told me to keep the camera running and walk through this bus shelter. I've got to admit, this has got to be the best bus shelter I've ever seen. It's really what we would call natty. So, camera is running. What are we looking at, Nikki?
So when you weave your way through,
Yes.
come out here,
Yes.
walk up the path, a bit of jetty. You don't actually have to come through the bush shelter to get to the jetty.
No, I know, but it's probably...
But look at that duck house.
Oh, that's amazing. So if we walk down the jetty, we'll have a look at this. It's called the Mucky Duck. Brilliant, brilliant. For those of you out there who are not British and not familiar with some of the pub names we have in this country, the Mucky Duck is a slang term for the black swan. So, how about that? Amazing. Even the ducks have a place to get a pint or two. Fridaythorpe's Mere has always been an important landmark. There used to be 2 meres here, like there were in Finbar. Only one now remains. When the Warren family were landowners here, they lived at Mere Farm, which stood to the west of what was known as Topmere at that time. By the side of the current mere, there's a board telling you you're on the Yorkshire Wolds Way. Fridaythorpe is the midway point of the trail between Hessle and Filey. Now let's head into the church. Dedicated to St Mary, this is yet another church on the Sykes Churches Trail, and it was restored in 1902 by Hodgson Fowler. Fowler's alterations cannot hide the age of this simple church, which is largely 12th century. The restoration, though, would add a new north aisle and some stained glass by Burleson and Grills. In January 1967, the church was given a Grade 1 listed status. This was open too, so let's have a look inside. Now, those of you out there who know Nikki know about her architectural eye and how good it is. How about this? Tympanum above the door. I know we've seen these before, but that caught Nikki's eye straight away.
Yeah, stonework is beautiful. You can see this porch has been reconstructed because there's a sign up there that tells you about it anyway. But then look at the old stonework, and just as I've opened the door, we're in for a treat in here because I can see a lot of exposed stonework.
Well,
so
take us towards it.
Original.
Take us towards it. Let's have a look at it. Blimey, it's a bit
dark in here.
Yeah, the camera's picking up quite a bit of light actually, so but if you can find the light switch, that would be great.
I can't see now.
Alright, okay. Well, if we haven't got any light, then we'll just have to make do with what we've got. But it seems to be okay. So where's this stonework then, Nikki?
Just look up and you'll see it.
Just look up.
Let me just get open my phone so I can put the torch on as well.
Let's come through this...
Hang on, before you go through there.
Why?
You've got... I don't want to fall. So you've got a font here.
Yep.
And then you've got a bell tower.
With a very narrow ladder.
And then look at the window though, the stained glass window up there.
Looking nice. Looking nice. Right, let's turn And go back the other way.
Okay.
Through here, down the nave. It's a bit more light in here. But yeah.
It's so nice to see the exposed stonework as opposed to a plaster or a paintwork. But this stonework is obviously very much older, and you know, you can see the bits where it's worn and weathered away a little bit. But look, you've got another arch above the altar, look.
Indeed you have, above the chancel. Here we go.
And that obviously is much better preserved because it's not being exposed to the elements.
Let's have a look at the altar. Let's just head through the rood screen. There's a nice wooden carving at the back there.
Yeah, altar carvings.
Looking quite good. There's some nice carvings actually on the altar itself.
Look at this, look at the wood. Can you see where the wood's been
worn down,
picked away or eaten away or whatever?
You can tell it's very old.
Yeah, definitely.
Got a bit of character, this church, hasn't it?
Very much so.
More stained glass.
So. We've got a side chapel here.
Yep.
Oh look, somebody's done some needlework.
Trust you to find that. This will have been for the millennium, obviously, because 2000 kind of gives that away.
By Betty Lumley, devoted churchwarden, 2005 to March 2012, buried in this churchyard. We might find Betty as we go out.
Yeah, we might do. We'll have a look for her grave.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's easy to find.
There's a bust here.
There is.
It says Tatton,
Ah!
1913.
Tatton Sykes. I imagine that will be Sir Tatton Sykes. And if you've been following the East Riding of Yorkshire series, you will already know who he is. But we will be talking a little bit more about him when we get to Sledmere, which is not too far away from Fridaythorpe. Right, let's head... Oh.
There's still a bit to look at here.
Is there?
We've got a war memorial.
I was all ready to go out of the church then.
We've got a war memorial.
It's a bit dark, you can't really see it.
In remembrance of Thomas Acklam. So I'm also going to put my spare change into the church donations box.
Spending those TVI pounds today.
It's not a lot, but every penny helps, especially in this day and age, cost of living and all that.
This cost of living crisis.
Yeah. But yeah, this is a really lovely church. Norman, isn't it?
I would imagine it's Norman, yes.
With those beautiful roof bosses as well.
Yeah.
Wood carvings. Absolutely gorgeous.
Always look up when you come into a church, people, because you never know what you're going to see. Okay, let's head out to the church now and let's see if we can find Betty's grave. We couldn't find Betty's grave, but we did spot this one. The largest grave in the churchyard, this is a family plot and belongs to the Sellers family. We exited the churchyard via Church Lane, which gave us a great look at the old rectory, a stunning property worth close to £1 million. Amazingly, it's not listed. From Church Lane, you can see St Mary's spectacular church clock. It was erected in 1903 and features the motto, "Time is short, eternity is long." We go up Thixondale Road next and we pass a few farm outbuildings up here on our way to a factory which produces animal feeds. This is ABN UK or ABN Feeds, located on the northern outskirts of the village. They process food for pigs and poultry, including for ducks. It's not uncommon to see ABN's lorries pass through Fridaythorpe regularly. They're a nationwide business and have many other locations around the country. Okay, now we turn around at this point and we head back to the mere, and this next part of the video is all to do with a feud that happened between Fridaythorpe and Fimber, the episode that you saw last week. It was called the Battle of Fimber and it was all to do with water. In 1826, this part of East Yorkshire suffered a period of severe drought. To help Fridaythorpe out, neighbouring Fimber agreed to allow the residents here to collect water from their two meres. But as the drought worsened, Fimber would eventually rescind that offer. However, Fridaythorpe's residents regarded it as a right and decided to take the water by force. An army of men marched down to Fimber and a fierce fight ensued, which Fimber won. The funny thing is, the same evening, rain fell in abundance, ending the drought. This is all according to a recount of the tale on this information board by the Mere. Now we've made our way back to the A166, and in front of us here is the former Fridaythorpe Board School. The original village school was mixed and it was built in 1841. In 1880 a school board was formed and it was transferred to that body. The board would build this new school in 1902. It's now a house. Okay, now we need to walk all the way back to the cafe along the main street. There's a few former pubs along here, along with a few other landmarks to talk about as well. There were once 4 pubs in Fridaythorpe. Here's one of them. This house used to be the Cross Keys Inn. Its history lives on thanks to its name, Cross Keys Cottage. Here's another one. This was the Rose and Crown. Behind this, off Back Street, there's a new build cul-de-sac named Rose and Crown Court. As well as pubs, Fridaythorpe once had chapels too. Both the Wesleyan and Primitive Methodists had one, built in 1840 and 1851 respectively. The remainder of the walk is now mostly residential. Those houses you've just seen line the A166 opposite the garage, and opposite the cafe is a large circular street called Wold View. So let's talk about Seaways Cafe. It gets its name thanks to it being a traditional stop-off point on the road to Bridlington. It's popular with bikers, and as such, it's full of motorbike memorabilia. Part of it used to be a garage, and it still has its roller shutter door over the main entrance. And there you go, we are fully around the village. That has been the parish of Fridaythorpe, and I do hope you have enjoyed it. Time for me to move on to my next one here in the East Riding of Yorkshire, which will be on a different day now. We're done filming here today, so hopefully the weather stays nice as we progress through the rest of the year. I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and this has been the parish of Fridaythorpe, and I'm out.